Good morning, and welcome to Pastor Cheryl Kincaid's blog/podcast, Wisdom for Today. And today I want to make with you a case for Advent. You know, in the small Presbyterian church that I grew up in, we really didn't celebrate Advent. We celebrated Christmas, like a lot of Protestant churches. But I think if we skip Advent and go immediately to that one night that Jesus was born and just ignore the time of waiting before he was born, we miss the full truth of the coming of the Messiah. You know, while I was recovering from my car accident, I went to a small town called Julian, where we used to pick apples and have lunch maybe once a year. And I was in a lot of physical pain, and I knew I was going to be in a lot of physical pain before I was healed. And I came across a small refrigerator magnet that said, "Lord, I know that every time you close a door, you open a window, but these hallways are really bugging me." And I laughed, and I bought that magnet because it occurred to me that I was in a hallway. But you know, even people who don't go through a trauma such as a car accident have to endure sometimes hallways of waiting. A lot of life is hallways, making your way to the door. Before Jesus came, there was 7,000 years where people waited for Messiah, and they waited and prayed for him. And then Jesus came, and it took a while for people to realize who he was and for Christianity to spread. In your own faith walk, there are times of waiting. Times where you're waiting for God to answer prayer. Times where you're waiting for an education to get over, or you're waiting for the job you needed, or waiting for a child to come, or waiting for a child to leave the nest. A lot of life is waiting. But we don't wait passively. We wait walking forward. The great joy of Advent is that it celebrates the light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not consume it. And the light is the hope of God's promises fulfilled, the waiting for God's promises fulfilled. So the first lesson of Advent that we celebrated 2 weeks ago was hope, where we talked about the prophets, and the prophets hoped for the coming of the Messiah as they proclaimed him. Last week we talked about the seekers, and we talked about faith, the wise men. This coming week we're going to talk about love, and it's also the Bethlehem candle. And the Bethlehem candle tells us about the people who had no room for Jesus Christ, and also begs us as Christians to make room for Christ in our life, but also for the people whom he loves in our life, that we might not turn away a Mary and Joseph who need a place to stay. As we wait for Jesus to do his great work in our lives, may we keep our doors open and our hearts open for the things that he has for us. If you're in a time of waiting, let me assure you that God's promises will come true. Maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. And if you're in a time of wanting to lock your doors, let me pray for you to have wisdom, to know who to open your doors to. This coming Sunday, we're going up to the mall to sing Christmas carols. Now, this is a small way of opening up your doors, but we're going to get off the church campus and out into the world, and we're going to proclaim the message of Jesus in our small way. If you can't come to this celebration, I pray that you will be in prayer about it, because I think God's going to be using it in our lives. I also want to announce to you that this coming Friday, there's an announcement below me about Jean Card's funeral, which will be this Friday from 12:30. So please check out the information about that as well. I look forward to seeing you this week at the different events we have at our church. And while you're waiting, look up. God is still in control. God's blessings, and have a good day.